Shalom, 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 Yasha'Allah. This your boy, Brother Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Take Heed unto Thyself and unto the Doctrine. Take heed unto thyself and unto thy doctrine. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa, Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. All right. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called Take Heed unto Thyself and unto the Doctrine. All right. And we are coming into times of great evil, right? Of manipulation, and a lot of people are going to be deceived. All right. And in these times, we must take heed, to ourselves and unto the doctrine that we have. And we see that in these last days, many people are changing the doctrine, all right, of this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, all right, to what? To fit their pockets, right, and to fit, the, to fit the, the mindset of the people, all right? We can't waver, all right, on this truth, man, okay? Let's read this. This is 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 15. It says, meditate, Salakia, and this is Paul talking to Timothy. It says, meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them, that thy profiting may appear to all. It says, take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. Continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. Okay? So not only is it profitable for others, but also as of yourself. All right? But you have to continue, all right, in what? In this doctrine, okay? Continue into this teaching, all right? Don't waver away, all right? And we see people, waxing worse and worse, okay? But as long as we stay firm and stay rooted, all right, we will fare off, okay? Let's get another one, Salakia. Let's go to, matter of fact, Salakia, I wanted to look up what take heed. Let's get this word.
Strong's G, 1907,
Epecho. All right. It says to have or hold upon, apply, to observe, attend to give attention to hold, towards, hold forth, present, to check, delay, stop, or stay. All right. It says to hold upon, to retain, right? It says to detain. It says to pay attention to. It says give heed unto, hold forth, mark, or stay. All right. And you have people, even of Israelites who will say brotherhood over doctrine. All right. But if you don't have the right doctrine, what good is the brotherhood? All right. You gotta have the doctrine right. All right. So you have to take heed. All right. And hold on. Right. The NLT says keep a close watch on how you live and on your teaching. Stay true to what is right for the sake of your own salvation and the salvation of those who hear you. Okay, that's why it's important, to speak this truth in 100% sincerity and truth. All right, not only for uh, for others, but for yourself as well. Okay, because what did it say in 2 Timothy? Right, Paul addressed it again. 2 Timothy 4, and I'll start at verse 2. It says, "Preach the word, be instant in season and out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine." All right, it's important. Okay, that you take heed to the doctrine. All right, it says, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears." All right, and it says, "And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables." All right, and that's what we see. Right, you can literally see how people are just turning away from, this sound doctrine. Okay, this truth. Okay, in the NOT in verse 3 it says, "For the time is coming when people will no longer listen to the sound and wholesome teaching. They will follow their own desires and will look for teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear." Right, and that's what we see what's going on. All right, they've trimmed their ways to seek love. All right, they've trimmed their ways to seek love. Right, to seek money. All right, it says they will reject the truth and chase after myths. All right, and that's what many people do, because it's softer to their ears. Right, well, no, that sounds way better. I'm gonna go follow that. Right, that's why Paul told Timothy, to take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine. All right, because many people are gonna depart away from it. All right, and he said, also he said, not only for you but for yourselves. All right. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Right, 1 Corinthians 9, and let's jump down to the end, verse 26. It says, "I therefore so run, not as uncertainty, so I fight, I not as one that beateth the air." It says, "But I keep under my body and bring into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be cast away, should be a castaway." All right. So Paul, not only, as he's exhorting, he's, too, it's for himself. All right. Lest he does all that, and he goes and he tells you and warns you, and then he doesn't do it himself, and now he's condemned. Okay, so let me read that again. Matter of fact, let me read in the NLT. So like it says, "So I run with purpose in every step. I am not just shadow boxing." Right, you're not just practicing. Right, you got to practice what you preach. You actually have to do it. Okay. It says, "I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should otherwise." It says, "I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified." Okay. So, and that's important too, and that's the thing when you do these lessons, hey, you have to adhere to them too, and this is why when you read up, Paul said, verse number 16, it says, "For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel." Okay, so understanding that this gospel must be preached, and who are we preaching? We're preaching it to others, right? But also to ourselves. All right, lest we forget and be cast away. All right, it says, "For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me." All right. Let's look up this word. I just want to see what this word is. Salakia. Dispensation.
Strong's G 3622. Oikonomia. Oikonomia.
Oikonomia says the management of a household or of household affairs. The office set up as a manager or overseer. Stewardship. Let's see. Administration, especially economy, dispensation, stewardship. Okay. I just wanted to Salakia, look at that. Let's see. It says, reading on verse 18, it says, "What is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Hamashiach without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel." All right. But the point that I want is, that though we preach the gospel, we have nothing to glory of. All right. Because it's a necessity. All right. Not only for others, but for ourselves as well. All right. Going over these scriptures, going over these, verses, help to continue to retain and meditate, upon these things. Okay. And that's always, good. Okay. The scriptures say, matter of fact, let's get that. 2 Timothy, right? 2. Salakia. No. There we go. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse number 15. It says, "Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." All right. Having that doctrine correct, man. All right. And understanding correct, so that you are teaching others correctly, right? And you're also helping yourself. All right. What did Ezekiel say? We must give warning, to others, that ultimately we may, save others. But if not, we get the blood off our hands, right? Ezekiel 3. All right. Whether they hear or whether they forbear. Okay. The NLT verse 15 says, "Work hard so that you can present yourself to the Most High and receive his approval. Be a good worker, one who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly explains the word of truth." Okay? You have to correctly be able to explain the word of truth, man. All right? While there's other people who are, throwing all types of man-made doctrines, traditions of men at people, right? You may rightly divide the word and show people correctly. All right. There is no hell, all right, in the middle of the earth where you're going to burn forever, right? You can go through the scriptures and tell people that, right? You could show people, about reincarnation, all right, and how it's biblical. Okay. Things like that. All right. Like the Revelation 13:16, all right, is a physical, all right, the RFID hip, all right, it's not spiritual, right, in all its form, all right, or whatever else, okay, but, it says, be a good worker, one who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly explains the word of truth, okay, and studying, and you got to constantly, go over and be in these scriptures, okay? Go over the doctrine, go over the, constantly, reading, go over breakdowns, the different things, okay? It says, who correctly explains the word of truth, okay? And what did Yahawashi say? What is that? John 8, right? If we believe, right, in Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, all right, Yahawashi said what? Let's get this. John chapter 8, and let's start at verse number 30. It says, "As he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Yahawashi to those Jews which believed on him, If ye continue in my word, then ye are my disciples indeed." Okay? So you have to continue in this truth, and many people are leaving the truth. All right? Many people are leaving the sound doctrine, all right, for the traditions of men, all right, for fables and myths, all right, and getting bugged out, all right. But those who continue, right, are his disciples indeed. Okay, so we continue in this truth, all right, in faith and sincerity, all right. I think I got like a couple more. Salakia, bear with me. Let's go to Second Thessalonian. Let's get that real quick. 2, and let's jump down to start at verse 14. It says, "Whereunto he called you by our gospel to the obtaining of the glory of our Lord Yahawashi HaMashiach. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which ye have been taught, whether by word or epistle." Okay? In the NLT, it says, I just jumped to 15. It says, "With all these things in mind, dear brothers and sisters, stand firm and keep a strong grip on the teaching we passed on to you, both in person and by letter." Okay? It's important to take heed, all right, to that doctrine. All right? Take heed to that doctrine. All right? Let's get Hebrews 10. Let's go to verse number 23. It says, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23, it says, "Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised." Okay? So it says, "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for the Most High can be trusted to keep his promise." All right? In the KJV verse 24, it says, "Let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works." All right? It says, "Not us forsaking the assembly of ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching." And as we see the day approaching, it's very important, all right, to continue in this faith, to continue in this doctrine, right, and continue to, to teach others, right, and hold fast, and to encourage others, because we understand that, hey, it's high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. Okay? And understanding that, all right, we got to hold fast. All right? NLT, it says, "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for the Most High can be trusted to keep his promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing nigh," all right, or drawing near. Okay? We understand. Hey, we're right around that time, man. Okay? Let's get this last one, and we'll probably close it out. 2 Peter chapter 1, and let's go to verse number 10. It says, "Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fail." All right. It says, in the NOT, it says, "So, dear brothers and sisters, work hard to prove that you really are among those the Most High has called and chosen. Do these things, and you will never fall away." All right. So you're not only doing it for just for others, but for yourselves as well. All right. And that's all, Lord's will, we're part of that number. Okay? Lord's will, we're part of that number that will make it, and be, caught up into the spaceships, all right, and delivered from this place, man, right? That we may see, the fall of our enemies, and we rejoice, all right, with those of the elect and with Yahawah, Yahawashi, and the angels, all right? But you got to hold on, all right, to this faith. You got to hold on to the doctrine. Take heed, all right, unto yourself and to the doctrine in these days, all right? So, I just want to do this quick lesson. Lord's will, this was edifying and exhorting, all right, for those of the household of faith. But with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well through the Spirit. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect in the household of faith, man. Stay diligent, stay focused, take heed unto yourself and take heed unto this doctrine, all right? Without wavering, all right? Stand firm, all right, in this sound and this true doctrine, all right? And with that, I say a ball and shalom.